So Amelia, who are the Greens?
The Green Party are a political party of the left, and we stand for economic and social equality, the protection and enhancement of the environment, and a political and economic system that benefits everybody. In short, we stand for the common good. The top three policies are the NHS, tackling climate change, and free education.
To stop climate change, to stop the attack on our civil liberties, to stop the massive expanding wars and the prison state and the massive failed war on drugs.
It's time to stop associating this with this. The Greens have one Member of Parliament. This is Caroline Lucas, who represents Brighton. The leader of the Green Party is Natalie Bennett. Deputy leader is our girl, Amelia Womack. The Greens have normally taken a back seat, but this year, membership figures have risen from this to this.
We stand for an NHS that is free at the point of service. Our health shouldn't really be tied in with profits, so we'd scrap the Health and Social Care Act of 2012, which has led to the creeping privatisation of the NHS.
The 2012 Health and Social Care Act was a financial reorganisation within the NHS. It abolished primary care trusts and created clinical commissioning groups.
Dr. Canfield, Mrs. Sutter, how are you feeling today?
These are mostly run by GPs, and they now control the majority of healthcare spending.
Well, I'm a little busy right now.
So we want to tackle climate change to make sure that globally we only stay within 2 degrees of warming.
And how would you aim to achieve your goals?
We need to take on the fossil fuel industry and the nuclear industry and make sure that we have strong investment into renewable energies and making sure we have things like flood defences and building insulation. We want a free education for everybody.
And how?
Making sure that we bring academies and free schools back into local authorities and to scrap tuition fees. This used to be the way it was. When you look at the current Parliament, the MPs that have made decisions on tuition fees, actually most of them had a free education themselves. And with their salaries, they in turn should be paying tax to invest in our generation and in the future generation so that we can have a free education for all.
Why should people vote for the Greens?
The Green Party don't support austerity. We really want to build an alternative and build a vision of a fairer future, a future that's fairer socially, fairer economically. To end austerity, we need investment in people, and we need to be tackling the tax loopholes that mean that the Facebooks and the Amazons of this world get away without paying tax in this country. Building a future that's for the common good and not for private profits.
I got involved with the Green Party relatively recently, within the last 6 months, just because I finally realized that trying to come up with any change within the two-party system now is impossible. Just nothing is working. I mean, my band actively participated in the last 3 Democratic campaigns for presidency. We played for Al Gore, we played for John Kerry, we played for Obama. They're all, and Obama's presidency has been, let down for some, and I don't particularly blame him for everything, but I think it's become really apparent with certain cases like Citizens United that the people have no say anymore in this country. Everything is purchased politics. And it just doesn't seem like there's going to be any real change within the two-party system. So I'm trying to be optimistic and hoping that a viable third party can make an impact. And for me, the Green Party represents most of the things that I would like to see in a government in this country.
Amen to that. I want to ask you, I'm a bit surprised because here we are in Hollywood, you are a rock star here, and it seems to be a stereotype that anybody who's a liberal in the Hollywood community has to be a Democrat. We just saw with Kelly Clarkson voicing support for Ron Paul that if you're sort of not part of the two-party system, you get ostracized.
There is an idea that Hollywood, of course, is all Democrats. I mean, it goes back to obviously the Hollywood actors thing. You hear a guy like John Voight, who is an outspoken right-wing guy, talk about it all the time. He gets grief for it. And, I mean, it does seem to be kind of a boys' club as far as that goes, but I don't think there's any conspiracy of actors and musicians trying to be liberals. I just think that artists in general tend to be liberal.
Because if you're not part of that, do you feel ostracized in any way?
You'd have to ask one of the guys who's not. You'd have to ask John Voight or somebody like that. I mean, I know Dave Mustaine is another musician, took a lot of grief recently because he said he was hoping a Republican would win the presidential race. He took a lot of grief for it, which it's his own opinion. I don't agree with him, but he's entitled to his opinion. I don't think he should take grief for it as long as he's educated about why he's going that route.
It surprises me that we don't see more of an advancement of alternative parties more expediently, because we have the Occupy movement, the Tea Party movement.
Well,
people are leaving the two-party system in droves. Congress has the lowest approval rating ever. Why are people still stuck on the two-party system? It's like an abuser-victim relationship.
Because people seem to think they have no choice. And I think the Occupy movement is actually key in that. And, you know, I'm 44 years old, so I'm not the one that's going to change things. It's the generation below me. And I was really proud to see everybody standing up that way, because it is crazy that no one has a chance in this system anymore. And it's got nothing to do with entitlements. And of course, the right wing tries to blow it off and say, "Oh, these kids just want handouts and they're not willing to work." It's like, that's all bull. You know that's bull. But the real root causes of problems in this country are much deeper than that. And again, I have to go back to why I got involved with the Green Party, is the hopes that we can grow our numbers and become a viable alternative. And there are 34 elected Greens in California presently. 3 of them are mayors. And hopefully the movement will grow, and eventually we'll get some congressmen and grow from there. And who knows what can happen. I mean, the limits are endless. And I hope that the other side does it as well. I hope that people who lean right, that don't want to be part of the Republican Party anymore, will go libertarian. I hope they will, because there needs to be alternatives.
Amen.
And I would love to see the Libertarian Party get big, and I would love to see the Green Party get big. I'm not being selfish and saying everyone needs to be green. We need different opinions in this country, but they need to be outside of this purchased politics that has become everything we're doing within the two-party system.
Amen, but don't discredit yourself because of your age, because you are making a difference. You are being here and being a voice to draw attention to alternative parties when we have a media that really blacks out alternative parties. Even Roseanne, who's running for president with the Green Party, doesn't get much coverage compared to the two-party system.
Oh, it's a shame. And it drives me crazy that, you know, this so-called, I always say quote-unquote liberal media, because the liberal media, as we all know, doesn't really exist, but the right wing likes to talk about it because they like to have a boogeyman. But the so-called left-wing media, or liberal media, just so blindly backs Obama. It's the same thing as the right-wingers. There doesn't seem to be any alternative in anybody's mind, and it's just not true anymore. I mean, you look at any other first-world country in the world, and this, I mean, yeah, it's not like that. I mean, they have choices.
I want to ask you about the fact that the Green Party has in their platform support for marriage equality. They've had it for a while. I don't
Absolutely.
know if and the Democrats are now just thinking about getting it in their official platform. Are you a supporter of the freedom to marry for gay and lesbian folks, and general equality for gay and lesbian folks?
Absolutely. I think it's really ironic that, again, going back to the right-wing thing, I think it's extremely ironic that the people that scream and scream and scream about keep the government out of our lives, they go, well, except if you're gay, we don't want you to be able to marry. We want to take your rights away. And when Obama won the presidency, I was happy because I was so disgusted with the last 8 years before that, of course. But then I also had to watch Proposition 8, Prop 8 pass. And it sort of tempered the whole thing. I go, oh my God, we haven't gone anywhere. Like, we are taking people's freedoms away. It's unbelievably ridiculous. My wife and I went down to a march a week afterwards in downtown LA, and we marched. You know, she was wearing a T-shirt that said "Straight for 8."
That's really wonderful.
Straight against 8, I mean, obviously, yeah.
Thank you all for doing that. And, you know, y'all did choose the heterosexual lifestyle. That's on you. I don't know why anything would do that. But
my guest is none other than the Green Party's 2012 candidate for President of the United States. She is a physician and an environmental health advocate. She's led initiatives promoting local green economies, and she's fighting for campaign finance reform and green jobs, among many other issues. Dr. Jill Stein, thanks for being with me today, and this is your second run for president now, is that correct?
That's right, it is, yes. My campaign is recognized as a legitimate voice of the principled opposition, because there's a lot of need for opposition. The two parties have gotten us into trouble. Because not only are we sort of recognized now as a legitimate voice, but the issues we've been standing up on to stop climate change, to stop the attack on our civil liberties, to stop the massive expanding wars and the prison state and the massive failed war on drugs, all these issues that we have been fighting for in my campaign and before in the Green Party, they're recognized now as critical issues that affect us all.
Well, they're coming to the forefront.
We are independent, so we're not taking marching orders from the fossil fuel industry or the health insurance companies or the big banks. We have the unique liberty to actually take our marching orders from everyday people who are fighting the same struggles that we are. And I encourage people to go to my website, jill2016.com, and join the team. We have basically a petition right now because the Commission on Presidential Debates, it pretends to be a public interest institution, but it's not. And they're going to issue some rules in October. So we want them to hear from us everyday people right now about opening up the debate. Voters have a right to more voices and more choices than those that are basically chosen by Wall Street and their political apologists, and we have a right to know about our candidates. It's right now, it is a bipartisan commission. It's run by the heads of the Democratic and Republican parties, and it was founded by that. Few people know that.
64% of the people chose not to even participate. 64%. Only 36% actually voted.
Well, I think the American people definitely agree that the Democrats and the Republicans are representing the millionaires and the billionaires who are making out like bandits. Everyday people are struggling for a job, for a living wage. My campaign also represents the everyday person out there who deserves the right to a job and a living wage, and health care is a human right. We represent many of the same policies, and in some ways we go further because we don't support the war economy. We don't support the F-35 weapon system. We don't support Israel's war crimes against Gaza, for example. So we have, I would say, an even more affirmative policy of peace, disarmament, and the use of international law and human rights as the basis for our foreign policy. In the Green Party, we're not going to go away at the end of the primary, and we're not going away in November. We're here to build for the long haul because the issues we're mobilizing around are showing every sign of getting worse by the day under this duopoly structure.
And you're all the issues that are important to me. I want the president that will get us out of the Middle Eastern wars completely.
When you look at $5 trillion that we poured into Iraq and Afghanistan, $5 trillion and counting, and 1 million people who were killed in Iraq alone, largely innocent civilians. This is why our wars for oil are the most dangerous thing we could be doing for ourselves, because our drones and our bombs, let alone our invasions and occupations and our foreign bases, are a better recruiting agent for Al-Qaeda and for ISIS than anything else that could possibly happen. So it's very important that we rework our foreign policy to be based on international law, human rights, and diplomacy. That's how we move forward.
And Dr. Stein, how about if we take that money and start putting it towards saving our planet? All the money that we're spending to wage war and kill each other, if we don't start putting our focus towards fixing this planet, we're not going to have to worry about those other wars. We're going to kill ourselves.
Yes. We have a national emergency right now, which is actually far more severe than the Second World War because there is no recovery from it ever. Not in the span of human existence. And that climate crisis goes hand in hand with what's called the sixth great extinction. We're losing 150 species a day, 15,000 a year. Humans will not survive that either. And both of these are now expected to come to a head in the next couple of decades. We're not talking future generations. We're talking right now, so that you and me, Governor Ventura, are very likely to be here as the bottom falls out and civilization becomes impossible. They're now talking at least 10 feet of sea level rise as soon as 2050. That means we lose all coastal cities, not only in the U.S., but around the world. And, you know, this is the end of business as usual. We need to take very seriously right now that we have a crisis. And fortunately, we can fix it, but it demands really principled, concerted action right now, not for the fossil fuel companies and for the fracking companies. And, you know, President Obama just yesterday opened up the Arctic to oil exploration. It means we need to be at 100% clean, renewable energy by 2030. That's 15 years to zero it out. So that means immediately no new fossil fuel sources. We need to zero it out. And you know what else? We need to shut down the nuclear power plants because, I mean, not only are they dangerous, but you're going to have flooding into those nuclear power plants. We're going to see, you know, worse than Fukushima in all of our coastal nuclear power plants, too.
And which means in order to achieve this, we got to get the Democrats and Republicans out of office. It's that simple because they're bought and sold by the very people you're waging war on. Dr. Jill Stein, I want to thank you. You and I are on the same page. We have the same beliefs, and we need to destroy these two parties and get new leadership in this country to go a new direction, correct?
I couldn't agree more.